Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The specialist's office smelled like cleaning chemicals and new paint. A man in his 30s sat on the exam table. His brown hair was messy because he kept running his hands through it. His navy blue t-shirt was loose, showing he had lost weight recently. "Your test results are clear," Dr. Martinez said. She put down her tablet and looked at her patient with concern. "Your body is making antibodies against its own testosterone. It is attacking the hormone as if it is something bad." That's not possible," Edwin said. He grabbed the edge of the table tightly. His knuckles turned white. "Bodies don't just attack their own hormones. It's very rare, but we have found 17 cases like this in the world," the doctor said. She showed a chart on her screen. "Your liver enzymes are 3 times higher than normal. Your kidney function has dropped by 30% in the last month. If this continues..." "How long?" Edwin asked. "Without treatment? 6 months, maybe less." The lights buzzed above. Edwin stared at a poster of the body on the wall. He tried to understand words that did not make sense. "There must be treatment options." His voice cracked. "Medications, therapies, something." Dr. Martinez adjusted her glasses. "There is one approach that's shown success in similar cases. We stop your body's testosterone production entirely and replace it with estrogen. Female hormones don't trigger the autoimmune response." "You want to give me female hormones?" Edwin's stomach churned. "What would that do to me?" "The physical changes would be significant. Breast development, fat redistribution, softer skin, changes to muscle mass. Essentially, your body would undergo feminization, but you would live. There has to be another way. We can try immunosuppressants, but in every documented case, they've only delayed the inevitable. Your immune system is too aggressive." She pulled up another chart. "This patient from Germany tried everything. Lasted 8 months before organ failure. This one from Japan made it 11 months with experimental treatments. Both eventually transitioned to estrogen therapy, but by then, the damage was irreversible." Edwin's hands trembled. "So my choice is die as a man, or live as someone whose body runs on estrogen instead of testosterone. I know it's overwhelming, but we need to start treatment within the next 2 weeks to prevent permanent organ damage." The drive home passed in a blur of streetlights and half-formed thoughts. Edwin's apartment felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else. He stood in front of his bathroom mirror, trying to imagine a different reflection staring back. His phone buzzed, a text from his sister asking about the appointment. He set it aside unanswered. 3 days later, Edwin sat in Dr. Martinez's office again. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. "I've decided to proceed with the treatment." "I'm glad." She handed him a thick folder. "This contains information about the transition process, support resources, and what to expect. We'll start with hormone blockers to stop testosterone production, then introduce estrogen gradually. How quickly will things change?" "Everyone responds differently. Some changes happen within weeks, others take months or years. We'll monitor your levels closely." She paused. "Have you thought about how you'll handle the social aspects?" "One crisis at a time, Doc." The first injection felt anticlimactic. A small needle, a brief sting, then nothing. Edwin expected to feel different immediately, but he drove home feeling exactly the same, except for the Band-Aid on his arm. 2 weeks passed. The crushing fatigue that had plagued him for months began to lift. His latest blood work showed improvement in liver function. Dr. Martinez increased his estrogen dose. "Your body's responding remarkably well," she noted during his follow-up. "Better than we hoped." Edwin noticed his skin felt different, softer somehow. His emotions seemed closer to the surface. He cried during a commercial about rescued dogs, then laughed at himself for crying. By the 6th week, the changes became undeniable. His chest felt tender and swollen. His jeans fit differently around his hips. The face in the mirror looked softer, though he couldn't pinpoint exactly what had changed. "I need new clothes," he told Dr. Martinez during his next appointment. "Nothing fits right anymore." "That's common at this stage. Have you given thought to presentation?" Some patients find it helpful to experiment with different styles as their body changes. Edwin shifted uncomfortably. I wouldn't know where to start. There's no right or wrong way. Do what feels comfortable. The department store overwhelmed him. He wandered through racks of men's clothing, but nothing looked right. His body had changed too much. A sales associate approached. Can I help you find something? I need clothes that fit differently than what I'm used to. Edwin's face burned. The associate, whose name tag read Monica, smiled kindly. Let me show you some options with different cuts. Sometimes our bodies change, and that's okay. She led him to a section with looser-fitting shirts and pants with elastic waists. Edwin grabbed several items and retreated to the fitting room. The clothes fit, but looking in the mirror felt wrong. The masculine cuts emphasized how much his body had feminized. His hips curved where they used to be straight. His chest needed support the loose shirt couldn't provide. Monica knocked gently. How's it going in there? Not great, Edwin admitted through the door. Would you like to try something different? No judgment here. I've helped lots of people find clothes that match how they feel. Edwin opened the door a crack. My doctor says I'm going through medical changes. My body is... You need clothes that fit your changing body comfortably, Monica finished. Would you like to look at some other options? She led him to the women's section. Edwin's heart raced, but Monica chatted casually about fabric and fit, making it feel less momentous. She selected several items in neutral colors. These have a classic cut that works for many body types. Try this blouse first. The pink is subtle, very professional. The pink blouse slipped on easily. The fabric felt impossibly soft against his sensitive skin. It fit properly across his chest, didn't pull or gap. Monica handed him a gray pencil skirt. The elastic waist is forgiving and the length is modest, very appropriate for work or appointments. Edwin stared at his reflection. The clothes fit perfectly. They made sense on his changing body in a way the men's clothes no longer did, but the person looking back wasn't the man he'd been 2 months ago. How do they feel? Monica asked gently. They fit. His voice came out hoarse. They actually fit. He bought 3 blouses, 2 skirts, and a simple dress Monica insisted he try. At home, he hung them in his closet and stared at them for a long time. The next morning, Edwin put on the pink blouse and gray skirt for his doctor's appointment. His hands shook as he buttoned the blouse. The skirt's zipper took 3 tries. But when he looked in the mirror, for the first time in weeks, his clothes matched his body. Dr. Martinez smiled when she saw him. How are you feeling? Physically? Better than I have in years. Emotionally, I have no idea. That's perfectly normal. This is a major adjustment. She reviewed his latest labs. Your numbers are excellent. Liver function is almost normal. Kidneys are recovering. Your body really likes estrogen. Lucky me, Edwin said dryly. I mean it. Some patients struggle to find the right hormone balance. Your body took to it immediately. It's like it was waiting for this. Over the following weeks, Edwin found himself reaching for the women's clothes more often. They simply fit better. The blouses accommodated his growing chest without binding. The skirts moved with his changing hips instead of fighting against them. His sister finally cornered him when he canceled family dinner for the 3rd time. Enough hiding, Rachel declared, standing at his apartment door. I'm not leaving until you tell me what's going on. Edwin let her in, acutely aware of the coral blouse and black skirt he wore. Rachel's eyes widened, but she said nothing, following him to the living room. I have a medical condition, he began. My body is rejecting testosterone. It's trying to kill me. What? Rachel grabbed his hand. How is that possible? He explained everything. The diagnosis, the treatment, the changes. Rachel listened without interrupting, her grip on his hand tightening. So the hormones are saving your life? According to Dr. Martinez, yes. Without them, my organs would fail within months. But they're also turning me into a woman, physically at least. Edwin gestured at himself. Hence the new wardrobe. Rachel studied him carefully. How do you feel about it? Not physically, but, I don't know. I'm grateful to be alive. The energy I have now, the clarity, I haven't felt this healthy in years, but I look in the mirror and see a stranger. Maybe that's not entirely bad, Rachel said slowly. You were pretty miserable before, even before you got sick. I wasn't miserable. Eddie, you were depressed for years. You never dated, barely left your apartment, worked yourself into the ground. Maybe this is a chance for something different. That night, Edwin stood before his mirror for a long time. His brown hair had grown past his shoulders. His face had softened, cheekbones more prominent, eyes seeming larger. His body curved in ways that would have seemed impossible months ago. "Who are you?" he asked his reflection. The answer didn't come. Weeks turned to months. Edwin's male clothes gathered dust in the back of his closet. He learned to navigate the world in skirts and blouses, heels on occasion. His co-workers adjusted with surprising ease when he explained his medical situation. "Just tell us if you need anything," his manager said. "Your health comes first." But small things kept tripping him up. The bathroom question loomed daily. He used the men's room out of habit, but the looks he received grew increasingly uncomfortable. The women's room felt like trespassing. One afternoon, a man followed him out of the men's room. "You're in the wrong bathroom, lady," he said aggressively. This is," Edwin stammered. "I don't care what you think you are. You don't belong in there with normal men." Edwin fled, his heart pounding. In his car, he gripped the steering wheel and tried to breathe normally. The pink cardigan he wore felt constricting. That evening, he called Dr. Martinez's emergency line. "I can't do this," he said when she called back. "The hormones are working, I'm healthy, but I can't live in between like this." "What do you mean, in between?" "I look like a woman. My body is female in every way that matters. But I'm still Edwin. I'm still using my male name, male pronouns, trying to be a man in a body that isn't male anymore. Have you considered that maybe holding on to those things is what's causing you distress? Not the physical changes themselves?" Edwin stared at the ceiling. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting anything, but many patients in your situation find it helpful to align their presentation with their physical reality. It doesn't change who you are inside, but it can ease the daily friction. You think I should live as a woman? I think you should live in whatever way brings you peace and health. The medical treatment is working perfectly. Your body is thriving. The question is how to help your mind catch up." That weekend, Edwin sat with Rachel at her kitchen table. He wore a lavender dress with small flowers, one Monica had picked out months ago. "I've been thinking about what Dr. Martinez said," he began, "about aligning my presentation with my body. What does that mean exactly? Maybe I need to stop fighting this, stop pretending I'm still the same person I was before." He traced patterns on the tablecloth. "My body has changed completely. Maybe it's time to acknowledge that." "Are you talking about living as a woman? Full-time?" "I already look like one. Sound like one, according to the barista who called me Miss yesterday. Maybe it would be easier to just be one." Rachel reached across the table. "What would that mean for you, practically speaking?" "A new name for starters. Edwin doesn't fit anymore." He'd been thinking about this for weeks. "I was thinking Michaela. It was grandmother's middle name." "Michaela," Rachel tested the name. "It's pretty. It suits you." "You think so?" "I think you look more relaxed just saying it." The legal paperwork took months, but the social transition happened faster. Edwin asked coworkers to call her Michaela, to use female pronouns. The adjustment period was brief. "Honestly, we've been avoiding pronouns for weeks because we didn't know what to use," one colleague admitted. "This is easier." Michaela's wardrobe expanded. She discovered she preferred dresses to skirts, cardigans to blazers. Floral patterns made her happy in a way she couldn't explain. Her brown hair grew longer, reaching the middle of her back. She learned to style it in different ways, though she usually preferred it loose around her shoulders. The medical appointments continued. Dr. Martinez beamed at each set of results. "Your body has completely adapted to estrogen. Look at these numbers. Perfect levels, perfect response. It's like your system was designed for this." "Maybe it was," Michaela said. "Maybe that's why it rejected testosterone so violently." There's actually some research supporting that theory. Some bodies are simply wired for different hormones than the ones they initially produce. So I was always meant to be this way? I can't say what you were meant to be, but I can say your body is healthier and happier than it's ever been. Michaela started dating 6 months after her social transition. Online dating felt safer. She could be upfront about her situation. Most men weren't interested once they learned her history, but some were. David was different. A software developer with kind eyes and a gentle manner, he asked thoughtful questions on their first date. So you transitioned for medical reasons, not because you felt you were always female? Michaela stirred her coffee, considering. She wore a blue sundress with white flowers, her favorite. Initially, yes, but now, I can't imagine going back, even if I could. This feels right in a way my old life never did. Do you miss anything about before? I thought I would. I made lists of things I was sure I'd grieve. But honestly, no. I was so sick, so tired all the time. Not just physically. My whole life felt wrong, and I didn't know why. And now? Now I wake up happy to be alive. My body works, my clothes fit. People see me as I am. She met his eyes. I'm not saying it's been easy, but I'm grateful. They dated for 8 months before David proposed. Michaela said yes immediately, then called Rachel crying with joy. I never thought this would happen, she sobbed into the phone. I never thought anyone would love me like this. Of course someone would, Rachel said firmly. You're amazing. You survived something impossible and came out stronger. The wedding was small. Michaela wore her grandmother's dress, altered to fit perfectly. Her brown hair was pinned up with small white flowers. David cried when he saw her. You're beautiful, he whispered at the altar. I'm alive, she whispered back. That's what's beautiful. 2 years later, Michaela sat in Dr. Martinez's office for her annual checkup. She wore a green wrap dress and brown ankle boots, her hair in a loose braid. 5 years since diagnosis, Dr. Martinez noted. How are you feeling? Perfect, absolutely perfect. Your labs agree. Everything's optimal. The doctor smiled. You're one of my favorite success stories. Because I survived? Because you thrived. Not everyone handles such dramatic change with your grace. Michaela thought about Edwin, that frightened man sitting on this same examination table years ago. He felt like a stranger now, someone she used to know but couldn't quite remember clearly. I had good doctors, she said, and I had no choice. You had choices. You could have given up, could have refused treatment, could have made yourself miserable fighting the changes. Instead, you adapted. You evolved. That evening, Michaela cooked dinner in the yellow kitchen of the house she shared with David. He wrapped his arms around her from behind as she stirred pasta sauce. Good checkup? Perfect, as always. She leaned back against him. Dr. Martinez called me a success story. You are. He kissed her temple. My brilliant, beautiful wife who conquered the impossible. I didn't conquer anything. I just survived. Same thing in your case. After dinner, they sat on the porch watching the sunset. Michaela wore one of David's old t-shirts over leggings, her hair loose and messy. She thought about the journey that brought her here, the terror of that first diagnosis, the uncertainty of each change. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't gotten sick? David asked. No, Michaela said without hesitation. That person, that life, it wasn't really living. I was going through the motions, existing but not alive. And now? Now I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Her phone buzzed with a text from Rachel, a photo from her daughter's birthday party they'd attended last weekend. In the image, Michaela laughed at something off camera, wearing a pink sundress with her brown hair caught mid-swing. She looked radiant, healthy, genuinely happy. That's a great picture, David said, looking over her shoulder. It is. Michaela studied her own face, seeing not the stranger she once feared, but simply herself. It really is. The years passed gently. Michaela's medical conditions stabilized completely. Her body hummed along on estrogen as if it had never known anything else. She kept the same wardrobe style she'd discovered in those early days, feminine but classic, lots of florals and soft colors. Her brown hair remained her pride, growing down to her waist. Sometimes she encountered others going through similar transitions for different reasons. They sought her out, having heard her story through support networks. "How did you accept it so completely?" a young woman asked once. She was newly diagnosed with a similar condition, terrified of the changes ahead. Michaela considered carefully. They sat in a quiet cafe, Michaela in a rose-colored sweater dress, the other woman clutching her coffee cup like a lifeline. "I didn't accept it at first. I was terrified, angry, convinced my life was over." She touched the other woman's hand gently. "But bodies are amazing things. They know what they need. Mine needed estrogen to survive. Fighting that would have killed me. But didn't you mourn your old self? You can't mourn someone who was dying. Edwin was fading away long before the diagnosis. The illness just made it visible." Michaela smiled softly. "This body, this life, saved me. How can I mourn that?" The woman left looking thoughtful rather than terrified. Michaela hoped she found her own path to peace. David and Michaela tried for children, but her body couldn't support pregnancy. They adopted instead a little girl named Emma, who had David's stubborn streak and Michaela's laugh. Emma grew up knowing her mother's story in age-appropriate pieces. "Mommy used to be sick," Michaela explained when Emma was 7. "The medicine that made me better changed how I looked." "But you're not sick now?" "Not at all. I'm healthier than ever." Emma seemed satisfied with that explanation, more interested in whether they could have ice cream after dinner. At 40, Michaela looked back on a decade of life she almost didn't have. Her photo albums showed the progression, Edwin growing sicker and thinner, the early awkward months of transition, then Michaela emerging like a butterfly from a chrysalis. The recent photos showed a confident woman in her favorite floral dresses, brown hair shining, surrounded by family. "No regrets?" David asked on their anniversary, finding her looking through the albums. "How can I regret becoming myself?" She meant it. The medical crisis that should have killed Edwin had instead given birth to Michaela. The body that rejected testosterone embraced estrogen like coming home. The life that felt wrong in 1,000 small ways finally clicked into place. Dr. Martinez retired, but not before publishing Michaela's case in several medical journals. The rare condition that almost killed her became a footnote in medical history, another data point in understanding the complex relationships between bodies and hormones. "You helped advance science," the doctor told her at their final appointment. "Your case helped develop new protocols for similar patients." "Glad my crisis could be useful," Michaela said with dry humor. "Your grace through it all was what made it useful. You showed that transition, even involuntary medical transition, doesn't have to be tragedy." Michaela wore a navy dress with small white flowers to that last appointment, her brown hair in its usual loose waves. She hugged Dr. Martinez goodbye, grateful beyond words for the doctor who saved her life in more ways than one. Life settled into comfortable rhythms. Morning coffee with David before work, Emma's school events where Michaela was just another mom in the crowd, weekend dinners with Rachel's family, ordinary moments that felt like miracles to someone who almost didn't survive to see them. Her work in medical advocacy grew from personal experience. She spoke at hospitals, wrote articles, consulted on cases similar to hers, always professionally dressed in her signature florals and cardigans, brown hair neatly styled. She became a voice for those facing medical transitions. "The body knows what it needs," she would tell frightened patients. "Our job is to listen, even when it's asking for something we never expected." Some found comfort in her words. Others struggled as she once had. But she offered what she could, proof that life could continue, even thrive, after everything changed. Emma grew into a teenager who rolled her eyes at her mother's fashion choices. "Do you own anything that doesn't have flowers on it?" she asked, watching Michaela get ready for work. "Why mess with what works?" Michaela smoothed her pink floral blouse, paired with a gray pencil skirt remarkably similar to the first outfit she'd bought all those years ago. "You've literally worn variations of the same thing my whole life. And I've been happy my whole life. Coincidence?" Emma laughed, despite herself. You're ridiculous. Ridiculously alive, Michaela corrected, which is more than anyone expected. The truth of it never left her. Every morning she woke grateful for the body that betrayed Edwin to save Michaela. Every estrogen injection reminded her of the second chance she'd been given. Every floral dress, every swing of her brown hair, every she and her and Michaela was a small celebration of survival. Do you think you would have transitioned anyway? David asked one evening. If you hadn't gotten sick? Michaela considered it. They were folding laundry, her dresses and cardigans mixing with his jeans and t-shirts in domestic harmony. I don't know. Edwin was so lost, so unhappy, but he didn't know why. Maybe eventually he would have figured it out, or maybe he would have lived his whole life feeling wrong. She held up a sundress, blue with yellow flowers. I can't separate the illness from the transition anymore. They're the same story. The story of how I met my wife, David said, pulling her close. The story of how I met myself, Michaela added. Both were true. Years accumulated gently. Emma left for college, pursuing medicine inspired by her mother's story. Michaela's brown hair showed silver streaks she didn't bother hiding. Her wardrobe remained consistent. Florals, pastels, comfortable femininity that felt like home. At 50, she sat in a new doctor's office for routine checkups. The young physician reviewed her medical history with wide eyes. This is fascinating. Your body's adaptation to estrogen is remarkable. It's kept me alive for 20 years, Michaela said simply. She wore a lavender dress with white daisies, her silver-streaked brown hair in a low ponytail. Most cases like yours require constant adjustment, but your levels have been stable for 2 decades. My body knew what it wanted. We just had to listen. The doctor nodded thoughtfully. You're in medical textbooks, you know. The Michaela Protocol for Hormone-Dependent Autoimmune Conditions. The Edwin Protocol sounds more dramatic, Michaela joked, but Michaela survived. That's what matters. It was what mattered. Through all the changes, challenges, and choices, survival had transformed into thriving. The body that tried to kill Edwin had given Michaela a life worth living. She drove home through familiar streets, stopping to pick up groceries. The cashier called her ma'am without thought. The bagger complimented her dress. Small interactions that Edwin would have found jarring, but Michaela barely noticed anymore. At home, she found David starting dinner and Emma visiting for the weekend. Her daughter hugged her tightly. How was the doctor? Still perfectly healthy. Still baffling medical science. That's my mom, Emma said proudly. Medical miracle and fashion consistency icon. Michaela laughed, smoothing her floral dress. Both equally important achievements. They cooked together, 3 generations of adapted family. Michaela thought about the life she'd built from the ashes of medical crisis. The man who'd sat terrified in Dr. Martinez's office couldn't have imagined this future, but Michaela lived it daily, grateful for every moment. Tell me the story again, Emma requested over dinner, about the first time you wore a dress to the doctor. You've heard it 100 times. I like remembering how brave you were. I wasn't brave. I was desperate. The clothes that fit my changing body happened to be women's clothes. Michaela smiled at the memory. That pink blouse felt like admitting defeat at the time. But it was really victory, David added. The beginning of becoming yourself. The beginning of saving my life, Michaela corrected. In more ways than medicine could measure. The story continued, as stories do. Grandchildren eventually, who knew Grandma Michaela had been sick once but got better. More medical advances built on her case. More lives saved by understanding that sometimes bodies need unexpected things to survive. Michaela aged gracefully, her brown hair going fully silver but still worn long. Her style never wavered. Floral dresses, soft cardigans, comfortable shoes. The consistency that Emma once teased became a signature of sorts. Michaela, unchanging in her contentment, proof that finding yourself could happen at any age, in any way. Would you do it again? A young medical student asked during a guest lecture. Knowing everything that would change? Michaela stood at the podium in a rose print dress, silver hair gleaming under the lights. The question was familiar by now, asked by those who couldn't imagine such dramatic transformation. Every single time, she answered without hesitation. My body knew what it needed to survive. Following that wisdom gave me a life I never imagined but can't imagine living without. But the loss of your original identity? What loss? Michaela spread her hands. I gained everything. Health, happiness, love, family, purpose. Edwin was dying in every way that mattered. Michaela got to live. The students took notes, trying to capture something that couldn't be reduced to medical facts. The truth of transformation, the grace of acceptance, the joy of becoming who you were meant to be, even if that journey began with crisis. Later, Michaela walked through campus in the spring sunshine. Her dress, pink with cherry blossoms, moved gently in the breeze. She thought about all the springs she'd seen since that first diagnosis, each one a gift she hadn't expected to receive. Her phone rang. David, asking about dinner plans. Emma texting about bringing the grandkids next weekend. Rachel sending funny memes. A life so full and normal it was easy to forget it almost never happened. But Michaela didn't forget. Every injection, every dress, every she was a small acknowledgement of the miracle. Her body's rejection of testosterone had been violent, terrifying, nearly fatal, but in that rejection was also recognition. This body needed something different to thrive. She gave it what it needed. Estrogen to heal the physical crisis. Acceptance to heal the spiritual one. A new name and pronouns to match the new reality. Floral dresses that felt like celebration. Long brown hair that became silver with age but never changed in its essential rightness. Thank you, she whispered to no one in particular. To the body that saved itself by demanding change. To the doctors who listened. To the family who adapted. To the universe that turned crisis into rebirth. The whispered gratitude got lost in the spring breeze, but the feeling remained. Michaela, formerly Edwin, survivor of the impossible, living proof that sometimes the body knows best. Her story was unique, but her joy was universal. The joy of being alive, being herself, being exactly where and who she was meant to be. She walked on through the campus, silver hair shining, floral dress swaying, every step a continuation of the journey that began with terror and transformed into triumph. Michaela, fully and forever herself, grateful for every moment of the life she'd almost lost, but fought to claim. The medical miracle was documented in journals and textbooks, but the real miracle was simpler, a person who faced impossible change and chose to embrace it, who let their body lead them to unexpected truth, who discovered that sometimes the greatest gift comes disguised as the greatest challenge. Michaela lived that truth daily, in floral dresses and gentle smiles, in the life she built from the ashes of who she used to be, and in living it, she proved that transformation, however it comes, can be not just survival but revelation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.